What's up, guys? Welcome to G Whiskey. My name's Jeff. This is a channel where I offer my thoughts and opinions on a specific whiskey, and if you stick around to the end, I'll be giving it a score as well. If that sounds interesting, hit subscribe down below. And with that out of the way, let's jump into our review. Today we're looking at a Thompson Brothers blend. This one is the TB BSW 6-year-old. Stick around. All right, so we're doing something a little bit different today. We're looking at a blend, and listen, it's always nice to say that I'm not a snob and that I like a little bit of everything. And there are some great blends out there, but I'm not a blend guy. I am absolutely a single malt snob. The hierarchy is single malts, then blended malts, then blends. Tell me I'm lying. But still, definitely there are some good blends to be had. I think I only have 3 currently in my collection. I, of course, have this one. I also have Nika from the Barrel, and I have a Johnnie Walker 200th anniversary. All of them are good. Now, as far as blends go, it's pretty much blended malts that are dominating the conversation these days. Ever since the price on single malts skyrocketed a couple of years back, a lot of people have been turning to blended malts as an alternative. Nowadays, many of them are well aged, they're craft presented, and they're made for serious whiskey drinkers. And so far, not too much attention has gone towards blends which incorporate grain whiskey. They're still kind of looked down upon, and that's because they're still rarely craft presented. They often have this kind of like generic, blended out profile, but that's starting to change too, which is smart. I think that companies should capitalize on the fact that a lot of single malt enthusiasts no longer feel they're getting much bang for buck from the single malt experience. They're just too expensive these days, and so they're turning elsewhere to find their fix. Actually, you know what? I probably shouldn't call it a fix. That sounds like people are injecting Orchard House behind a dumpster in an alley. Yay! Single malts are too expensive, and enthusiasts are now looking elsewhere for a quality whiskey experience. Much better. And since blended malts are now officially a thing among enthusiasts, there's no reason that regular blends, can't try and get in on the fun. There's absolutely nothing wrong with grain whiskey, especially if it's well blended with the malt whiskey. I think if blends are well made and they're designed for enthusiasts, there's no reason they can't take off. And this one kind of has. This one is getting some love these days. I'd say it's one of the trailblazers for blended whiskeys, for well-presented blended whiskeys. Others would be stuff like the Johnnie Walker that I mentioned earlier, which is a really nice whiskey. Although I think a lot of enthusiasts are turned off by the brand Johnnie Walker. Meanwhile, the Thompson Brothers is a very respected brand, even among the snootiest of snoots. Thompson Brothers owns Dornoch Distillery, which is likely cooking up very good things. They have a respected line of IBs out there. They have some blends. They have some blended malts that are doing really well among enthusiasts. So they have a reputation. Anyway, our whiskey here is a 6-year-old sherried blend, and I don't know too much about it beyond that, just that it's been very hyped up recently on Whiskytube, and I'm not immune to that. I'm a very impressionable young man, and I believe everything I see on the internet. So this one should be good. There's no reason to doubt that. Let's jump into a review. In the meantime, if you'll kindly leave a like down below, that'd be greatly appreciated. As I said, this one is craft presented, which is great. So our ABV is 46%. It's going to be non-chill filtered, and our color is natural. So for our look, it's definitely a different look. It's one of those things where it's artistic, but you don't know if it was done by a very skilled artist or by a 6-year-old who loves whiskey. And the fact that we don't know the answer to that question makes us ponder. Therefore, it is art. Now, I know that sounded mean, but I actually think the label looks cool. I'm going to give it 3 out of 5 for presentation. It does say non-chill filtered. It does say natural color. It talks about how this was bottled at the Dornoch Distillery. We don't know a lot of information. It doesn't give us too much. It's not like a compass box where they have a lot of transparency and we know basically everything about the whiskey. But it is enough information. It's certainly enough to appease the purists and the craft crowd. And the bottle looks cool, so I'm good with it. On the nose, we get loads of sherry, but it's not modern. It's not like this clean, sweet sherry. This is a dirty sherry. I get cinnamon, I get spices, I get toffee, I get berries, leather, tobacco. There's coffee, oak, wet wood, and a very musty, dusty attic. Fun stuff. On the palate and finish, this is actually quite oily. It's oilier than I expected. Once again, we get that big sherry, that old school sherry. There's even a little bit of funkiness to it. I get stuff like rum balls and Christmas cake and trifle. Lots of like holiday sweets, holiday desserts. I also get big juicy sultanas, cinnamon, figs. There's lots of syrupy notes in here like maple syrup, Lyle's golden syrup. There's orange zest in here. Good complexity, good finish too. I'd say medium long. All right, so this one is surprisingly good. It is what they say it is. I know this is like trending on Whiskytube right now, and I'm gonna echo chamber the hell out of it. This is a really nice whiskey, guys, and you know, it's one that I think will make a lot of enthusiasts very happy. It makes me happy. What this stuff has that a lot of blends don't have is character. This has personality. I think it's really well blended. The spirits have been well blended. I do detect some grain in here, but that's only because I'm looking for it, because I know it's there, and it doesn't lessen the experience at all. In fact, it's barely noticeable. As for the component malts, I don't know what percentage of this is malt whiskey, and I don't know what the component malts are. But again, they did impart some character. I do get a bit of funk in here. Usually funk for me goes a little bit lactic. This is more of like a vegetal funk, but it's in there. And of course, we have plenty of sherried influence. This is an old school dirty sherry, no sulfur at all, really nice. If I were to compare this to anything, I might say it's the Glenturret 12 meets the Glenfarclas 15. Is it as good as those whiskeys? Maybe not quite, but it is cheaper than those whiskeys, and if it's not as good, it's honestly not far behind. This one's not quite a sherry bomb. I'd call it borderline sherry bomb. Like, it's not going to be as heavy as stuff like the Glenturret I just mentioned, or let's say an Edradour, but for me, that's a good thing. That style of whiskey can come off a bit heavy. It's very mood-based, whereas something like this, I feel, is a little bit more accessible, and I just love that dirty, funky sherry. By the way, it's well before my time, but if you guys were dating back in the 70s and you came across dirty, funky sherry, you were in for a hell of a night. But yeah, great cask influence here. I think our casks imparted some beautiful flavors. It's got a dark fruitiness, but it doesn't get too heavy. It's got a nice sweetness, but it doesn't get too cloying. We have some nice spices in here. It's more layered than I was expecting. So even though this isn't necessarily my go-to style these days, like I tend to gravitate more towards things that are gently sherried, I can't deny that this is a really nice whiskey. I think it's got more sophistication, complexity, and character than I was expecting from an affordable 6-year-old blend. This really works. Now, as far as score goes, what did Ralphie give this one? 85? By the way, it's just a wall over there. I don't even know who I'm pretending to talk to. Yeah, Ralphie gave this one 85. I don't really want to match that, but I'm going to have to. I'm going to echo chamber that. 85 for me. So if you're looking for a quality, old school style sherried whiskey that is craft presented, that is affordable, I think this is a great option. It can go toe to toe with a lot of single malts, maybe even outperform some of them, and you're doing it for less money. So I think this is a great bang for buck deal. Let's talk about value. So I paid like 40 US dollars or roughly 30 pounds, just over 30 pounds here in Taiwan. And you know, that's usually the price you pay for a basic or an entry-level single malt with maybe a little bit of character, some nice flavors. This does more than that. This one has more sophistication, more complexity, as I said earlier, than it has any right to, especially when you factor in price. I think it's worth every penny, and I think if you see this one, it's worth picking up. And I suppose that's it for today, guys. Thank you very much for watching. If you want to help support the channel, I do have the Patreon. Otherwise, you can like, comment, and subscribe. Of course, I do want to hear from you. Have you tried our TB ABC 123? How did you feel about it? Was it worth the money? Was it a good deal? Finally, down below in the comments, you can let me know what you want to see me review next, and I'll keep it in mind for my upcoming videos. Bye, guys.